Hello there, Michelle here, and I have the absolute pleasure of guest designing for your next stamp today. So I'm starting off with all of my die cutting. I've got quite a bit to do at the beginning here. So I'm just using the MFT pierced square frame die, and I'm cutting that a couple of times. The first time I'm cutting it from some watercolour cardstock, and then I'm going to cut it again from some smooth white cardstock. I want the various different elements, so needing to run this through a couple of times. And then I couldn't get the die cut out of the die, so I'm just using a little bit of micropore tape and just adding that onto the back and then removing that piece. And then I've got a bit of vellum here, and again I'm going to use that same die and run that through. And here I have the puffy cloud border die from Your Next Stamp, and I'm going to cut that inside piece of the smooth white cardstock with that. There is 2 dies in the set and I'm using both of them today. I could have actually run them through at the same time, but for some reason I didn't think of that. So just using that second piece there for the top part of the cloud. And then I'm taking that vellum piece, and again I'm going to use the larger of the 2 clouds. And because this is going to be mainly covered up by the cardstock piece, I only need a small amount of this cloud, so I'm kind of manipulating it to where I want it. So here I've got that watercolour piece, the inside piece of that frame, and I'm going to ink it up with some distress inks. The first one here is tumbled glass, and I'm going to go over the whole piece of the cardstock with this, and I'm going to create a sky. So just using light circular motions and going over the whole piece. And then I'm using the broken china distress ink, and I'm just going around the outsides. And then here I kind of realised that really that didn't make any difference whatsoever. So then I'm going in with the salty ocean, which is just slightly darker. Most of it is going to be covered up, but I still wanted a little bit of depth of colour there. And then I'm going to take my distress sprayer and I'm just going to spray some water onto the piece just to give it a little bit of texture. So just going to let that sit for a few seconds, maybe like 30 seconds. And then I've got some paper towel and I'm just lifting the excess water up. And then it was a little bit too splattery for my liking, so I'm going back in with the distress inks, just covering that over a little bit. And then I went back in with a little bit more water and again did the same thing with the paper towel. So here I've got a bit of smooth white cardstock, and I'm using the Just Plain Amazing stamp set from Your Next Stamp, and I'm using the plain image here, and I'm just inking that up with some Memento Tuxedo black ink, and then I'm just stamping that down. And then I'm going to colour it with some Copic markers. So I'm going in with my darkest colour first. This is the N5. Adding where I want the darkest portions to be on the plane, and then I'm going in with my N3, just pulling that colour further out. I've then got the N1, and again pulling that colour further out into the plane. And then with my lightest shade, this is the N0, and I'm just going over the whole of the plane there. And then just going in with that N5 again, just to add the little circles of the windows. And that was some B quadruple 0 and a little bit of colourless blender. And for the yellows here I'm using Y19, Y18, Y15 and Y13. And then I'm going to fussy cut that out. There is dies that you can buy to purchase separately, but I didn't have them, so I just fussy cut that out, and it was quite an easy image to fussy cut. So this is the sentiment from the set. This says "Flying by to say," and I'm just going to stamp that on the larger of the cloud pieces, again with the Memento Tuxedo black ink. Here I have some enamel dots. These are also from Your Next Stamp. These are called gumdrops. And I have the white, but I actually wanted some yellow ones and some blue ones, so I used my Copic airbrush. This is the Y13 Copic colour, and I'm just airbrushing onto them the Copic colour. And it's really good because they cover them really well. They dry pretty quickly, and then obviously you've got loads of different colours that you could possibly ever need of enamel dots just by buying one set of white. And it kind of matches how you want everything in your card to be as well. So here I've got all of the elements of the panel of the card, and I'm just deciding where I want everything to go. So just taking my time with that vellum piece there, deciding where I wanted it. And I'm just adding a little bit of adhesive onto the bottom. You're not going to see the adhesive because it's going to be behind the cardstock piece. So again, just kind of figuring out where I want that enamel piece to, not enamel piece, sorry, the vellum piece to go. Sticking that down, and then I can just cut off the excess with my scissors. And then I'm going to take that same adhesive and just add that onto the cloud, the cardstock pieces. Add a little bit of extra cardstock there where it's been die cut, to just get rid of that with my nail. And then I can stick that cloud down. And then I'm just going to do the same with the top cloud. And here I have a 5" by 5" card base. Again from the same smooth white cardstock, and I'm just using some temporary removable adhesive just to place the frame on there. And then I can use some stronger adhesive, this is the ATG, to stick that panel down into the middle. I just wanted to make sure that it's definitely going to be centered. And then I can remove that frame from the outside. I'm then going to take some foam tape and I'm going to cut that down and add that onto the back of this frame. So just making sure to cover the whole entire frame so that nothing kind of sags or anything if I want to send this in the post. And then I can just remove the backs, and I like to use a pair of tweezers, it just helps me out. And then I can just place that over the panel in the middle. And then I wanted to add my little aeroplane with some foam tape as well, so just cutting lots of little pieces down and just placing them on the back of the plane. And then again I can remove the backings with some tweezers. And then I'm just going to place that down onto the card base. And then here I've got those enamel dots that I coloured earlier. And then I'm just using a little piercing tool or pokey tool, however you want to call it. I'm just placing those down onto the card. I don't tend to press that hard to start with, just so in case that I want to move any. And as you can see, I did do that a couple of times here. And then it was about this point I decided that I needed another yellow one, so I went ahead off camera and coloured another one of those dots. So here I want to complete the sentiment on the inside of the card. So I'm just using some temporary adhesive again and just placing that onto the back of the card base, just so that I can hold it down because the front is quite top heavy at this point. And then again I'm going to ink it up with some Memento Tuxedo black ink, and the sentiment reads, "You are just plain amazing." So I can just stamp that down into the middle, and then I can just remove the temporary adhesive off of the back. And so here's that another enamel dot that I coloured in, so just placing that down. And that's the card finished for today. Links to all of the products that I use will be in the description bar on YouTube and also on my blog. A big thank you to Your Next Stamp for having me guest design with them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.